having a law does not necessarily deter crime if the laws are tight.
Maybe you get money faster, but you can lose it faster as well.
Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of Beyond the Headlines with me, Hazween Hassan. Now this week we revisit the shocking mall shooting incident that happened in Setia Alam over the weekend. A cleaner at Setia City Mall was shot in the leg by a gunman who still remains at large. Police have identified the suspect as a local man in his 30s with 11 prior criminal and drug-related offences. The victim, a foreign national who's also in his 30s, has been treated at hospital and is now in stable condition. Investigators believe the suspect, armed with a pistol, fired at least 8 shots, hitting the victim's leg and buttocks. The attack happened late Saturday night as the cleaner was storing equipment on level P1 of the mall. The suspect later hijacked a car holding a family hostage for 45 minutes and forcing them to drive him out of Setia Alam. He eventually fled on foot alongside the highway. While this might sound like a plot out of a Hollywood fugitive movie or something more common perhaps in countries like the United States, unfortunately, this does leave us with a burgeoning security dilemma. Are our public spaces, malls, places where crowds gather, safe? And in the second half of the show, my co-host Amalina Kamal has some good news for EPF contributors. Industry experts are optimistic that the Employees Provident Fund is on track to declare higher dividends for 2024, potentially reaching at least 6.2%. This positive outlook is driven by a recovering global and domestic market, a stronger ringgit, and high returns from fixed income assets. Catch her full report and interview with economist Dr Haezreena later. Now, first though, to help us make sense of the mall shooting incident, here with me in the studio is University Malaya criminologist Dr Haezreena Begum. I hope I pronounced your name correctly. Haezreena Begum?
Yes, that's correct, Hazween.
Doc, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Hazween. Thank you for having me.
Pleasure to have you. Now, it really does sound something like out of a movie, doesn't it? I'm not trying to make light of the situation because it clearly isn't. But this mall shooting had it all. I mean, you have someone who was shot in the leg, then an entire family held hostage and held at gunpoint to make the escape. The gunman, of course, who still remains at large. And unfortunately, Doc, this isn't the first time I'm having to address a public shooting in this country. Last year, it was the KLIA shooting, which almost killed a bodyguard who needed 3 surgeries after. So my question is, are our public spaces safe?
Yeah, thanks, Hazween. It is shocking and alarming to hear about what has happened at the shopping mall at Setia Alam, because we know that for all this time we've been very complacent, we've been very comfortable. Our shopping spaces has been relatively safe for all. It's a place where families hang out, elderly hang out. You can bring the disabled. A place, we have this shopping and culture shopping and food culture. Yeah. And what transpired, what the tragedy occurred, actually shocked the nation, shocked me as well. And to think of the trauma that the family went through, the victim that was shot, that innocent victim, is something that we cannot just, dismiss. While we still have our public places, I still feel that it's relatively safe. One tragedy is always a tragedy too many. So are we going to wait for more tragedies before we take any action? So I think that now crime has now evolved and people have been so daring now even to operate, do things, in a shopping mall. But then again, I wouldn't really call it a new incident, because, for example, robberies in goldsmith shops, in jewellery shop, has occurred in shopping malls as well. So we have to look at that as well. So I think it's high time for us to actually discuss this and look at the security features even further.
I think, to your point, I think what sets this apart from jewelry heists that have happened in malls before is the fact that it was rather isolated, that it involved a cleaner of all people, and then that the gunman then managed to flee off and then hold a family in a car hostage, using it as a getaway car. Perhaps, can you shed more light on why people are seeing this differently, perhaps?
Yeah. Usually when there is a crime committed, a robbery, for example, a jewelry shop or any shop for that matter, there is an economic target. It's for financial purposes.
Right.
But this, we are unsure of the purpose, the objective. Why did the gunman commit what he did? Is it because of anger? Does he have some kind of issues, anger issues? Is it because of depression? I wouldn't straight away call it that he has some mental problem, and I'm actually against people who think of it that way, unless you want to say that man ran amok. But in this case, it's not the case, because he went into a car and got this family hostage, basically hijacked that family and used that family as his getaway point. So this we're not sure of the objective purpose of this perpetrator. So this is what that sets apart from a case of robbery. Only thing, the premise is the same. It's shopping mall, but you can see how the difference here. One, you know the objective. The other one, we are yet to know the objective of such act.
Right. And talking about public spaces, the mall, and I alluded to the KLIA shooting last year that I addressed on the show as well. So much like an airport, right, the mall is a public space. It's confined within a building normally, and presumably the mall operators would have assigned enough security personnel at enough locations. And of course, on top of that, we've got CCTV cameras all around. In fact, I think it's almost without question, most places have cameras. So how difficult is it to control public safety? What's involved? Can you talk us through it?
Yep. I think, as I think we've discussed, Malaysians have always been this majority has always been these law-abiding citizens. We're a peaceful society, a community. We do not like any problems too much, and any problems that occur, we prefer to solve it diplomatically. So as you can see, a lot of our public spaces, even our 5-star hotel, we do not have, except for a few, we do not have all these sensors or at the entrance, as compared to airports and shopping malls in other countries. Even in Indonesia, you see in Thailand, to go into a shopping mall, sometimes you have to go through, multiple stage of sensors. I think we might feel this a bit suffocating because it has never been done. But maybe we need to think about it. When it's never been a practice, a culture, of course, we will find it suffocating. But then again, are we willing to take that risk? Are we willing to allow tragedies like this to happen? Of course, I cannot give a decision now. I mean, I cannot just tell what is there to be done. We have to look at the pros and cons. But if you look at, we have enough CCTVs. We have, even if you go into the shops in the malls, we have these sensors, right? Going in, going out, we have these sensors. But still, things like this happen. That means we are looking at even perhaps parking spaces.
Right. Yeah.
We are looking about places around the supermarkets as well, the malls.
Right.
So metal detectors, would it perhaps be viable or practical to even have metal detectors now. So I think it's something that we need to discuss about in depth.
Right. So, you're talking about change. We're such a compliant society. People trust one another. We're rather docile, as we were talking earlier before the recording, right? Do you think it's high time for that change, and perhaps even not to maybe to drive the drive the point home even further and really put it out there? There's no tolerance for crime and criminals like this. Can we start introducing the K9 units in some places, perhaps?
Yeah, for me personally, I wouldn't mind having that, K9 unit. But like I said, this will be a new scene, a scene that Malaysians have not used to. I have not been to a shopping mall in Malaysia that warrants me to put my stuff or go through a metal detector. I just go park my car and enter, and I've never even seen a K9 in any shopping malls. Okay, and I've been to most shopping malls in KL, in Klang Valley. So just imagine for our everyday citizens to actually go in, and suddenly it will be a drastic change, definitely.
For sure. Yeah.
So I think that if there's going to be any upgrade to the I wouldn't say upgrade, but introduction. You have to introduce stiffer, for example, sensors or all this kind of metal detector kind of apparatus. It has to be done gradually, because people may not feel comfortable. Some people may be shocked by it, and to some extent, some people might find it a bit troublesome and cumbersome to even go to a shopping mall.
Right.
We don't have but nevertheless, sometimes there is, like I said, pros and cons. Maybe sometimes people will say, okay, don't go to shopping mall, let's go to a garden and sweat it out.
But perhaps it is the change that we should
maybe
welcome.
yes. I was in New Zealand for so long that there's not much shopping mall except for in Christchurch. You have they call it malls, where we call it small shops.
Right.
That's how big their malls are. And most the society, the idea of the way they spend their weekends is to go to parks and gardens. We have beautiful, lovely parks and gardens, which is underutilized actually. So, because if you see, our idea of spending our weekends is to go to the shopping mall. Even our 10,000 steps, I heard is done in shopping malls.
Yeah, that's true.
So that's going to be a big change, actually. So, if the government is going to, or the shopping, in this instance, if the shopping mall is going to introduce stringent or a bit more measures to keep patrons safe, it has to be done in a very subtle way, so that they will not lose out on their customers, patrons.
Now, Doc, on how this would weigh on mall operators, I actually spoke to the Malaysia Shopping Malls Association President, Ms. Fang Sao Lian, just yesterday, and on introducing these tougher measures, introducing apparatus like metal detectors, as you said, of course, there needs to be a balance between cost and safety, as well as customer service. But for the time being, she said that we would strongly recommend malls to undertake more intensive patrolling by experienced security guards and or engage auxiliary police. For example, security personnel trained by the police, and for them to be trained to recognize potential perpetrators through keen observation, body language, habits, etc., and even using K9 units, as I mentioned earlier. What do you have to say to that?
Well, we can say that, but will yet that be implemented? That's another thing. For example, this one at Setia Alam, the facts is not quite clear to me. I just read what is in the papers. We don't know that at that parking lot, were there any watchmen or any auxiliary police or any security. we don't know because the facts are not being given too much. There's not much facts out there. So I think we have to look firstly at making sure that parking spaces and the mall itself have enough security. For me, if you look at most shopping malls, only like KLCC, Suria KLCC, you have got good security. Pavilion, you have good security. But the rest, I don't really see much security. Like one in Bangsa, yes, we have security that was after the Kenny Ong's case at the shopping mall when that, Kenny Ong's case. But other than that, you don't really see many security or personnels. I don't see the management employing. Maybe they have, but it's not visible to me. Maybe they do have, those with plain clothes, but it's not visible to me. So sometimes this omnipresence makes a difference, actually. If you see when you have security guards loitering around, doing their patrols, it makes a difference. Crime, usually, according to research also, like if the place is well lit, the criminology looks at it this way. I mean, crime happens in darker spaces than brighter spaces. We're not saying it does not happen in like brighter spaces, but the propensity to where a crime being committed in lighter spaces is lesser than the darker spaces. Similarly, when you have a place where you have guards patrolling, and a place where you don't have guards, you don't see any guards, it's easier to commit crime at those spaces. So perhaps I think that needs to be looked at first before we even look at K9, actually.
That's true. Yeah. I mean, obviously, even just a few days ago after this shooting happened in Setia Alam, we heard of a shooting in broad daylight, also in Johor. If I'm not mistaken, it was in Simpang Renggam, where a criminal known as Man Tiger, I believe, he managed to shoot at a couple at their doorstep. Again, shooting happened in broad daylight. So I think the sort of the background question to that is why people have access to firearm in the first place. And these are criminals. So why are criminals having access to firearms in the first place? So this brings me to my next question, talking about gun control in our country and about how these people have access to guns. Compared to countries like the US, where they have the Second Amendment, the right to bear arms, right? We don't have that problem here, of course. Our gun laws, our gun control is far tighter, right? In fact, recently, in response to this mall shooting, Home Minister Dato Saifuddin Nasution Ismail said that it can take up to 2 years to obtain a gun license. And that is even if it's approved, because on average, he says the approval rate is only 3%. So out of 100 appeals or applications, only 3 are approved. So there is stringent vetting in place. But could that now be our problem, actually? Because some might argue that because our gun laws are tight, it would likely cause some people, in this case criminals, to obtain firearms illegally. At least that's what the anti-gun control lobbyists in the US argue.
Well, if you look at it from a criminological point of view, having a law does not necessarily deter crime. Having a law actually would open up another avenue, especially when you talk about, like for example, drugs. Drugs has been prohibited since forever in Malaysia.
Right. Yeah.
But we have, there's never enough supply. I mean, there's never not enough supply. You can, the police will be doing their operations. You can interrupt it for like 2 hours, but then again, you get that supply. Similarly, for arms, for guns, rifles, whatever, we've been having this Firearms Increased Penalties Act, and it's death even before the abolition of the mandatory death penalty. It's never been a situation where Malaysia allowed guns. I've never heard of even Malaya. We've always been having tough laws on possession of firearms, but we still get cases of people having firearms. So what I'm saying that even with the laws do not deter a crime.
Right.
So what deters a crime is education and the impact and the repercussions, the consequences. Of course, you need the control, definitely. I'm not saying that there shouldn't be any control, but it's more of what the effect that the gun will cause, death, and then hardship, victimization. It's not just that. For example, like this case, the person who was shot is the victim. It's not just the victim who suffers, the victim's family,
right,
the employer, the friends, everybody. It's a continuum of people that's affected by that. So it's more of that. I think in Malaysia, relatively, we're still safer compared to our neighboring countries. But nevertheless, we cannot be complacent. And we are seeing now these incidents occurring. Another thing that if you see like the one in KLIA, as I was saying, that even with people patrolling, you still have somebody. In KLIA, you have so many officers.
Right.
You have the immigration, you have the police,
And
you
it's
have
an airport.
It's an airport, but still somebody can open fire.
Yeah.
So meaning that if a person is really angry, whatever motive they have, it doesn't matter whoever is there will still be crime happening. So sometimes you cannot predict. Going back to that question on that anti-lobbies, yes, what she's saying, that it will open, yes, that has been happening actually for so long in Malaysia. But that does not mean that I would agree that we lessen or uplift our our laws on guns.
Right.
It has to be there. We're not going to be we're not in a stage to become like United States. Even in Thailand, you see, Thailand has, I think I read recently, like there's like 7.9 million guns, firearms in Thailand, and about 2 million that's unregistered, something like that. They do have laws for guns, but the enforcement is lax.
Right.
And they do have a licensing regime, and it's not as difficult as it is here. But still, when the enforcement is there, so the law is a show sometimes, right? Yep. So we're talking about even with those laws, we can still get it from Thailand, especially. That's the place where you can get in. From the, and if you ask the people in the marine, the maritimes, smuggling of firearms through sea. We have smuggling through sea. Right. We have that's the easy smuggling through sea and smuggling through land. That's the easiest way. Smuggling to air is a bit difficult unless they have some ways of throwing it through drones and all that. But yeah, so that's the current situation.
So if the laws are tight, which that's the case in Malaysia, can you just tell us how is it that these criminals, I mean, it probably makes sense to me at least, seeing this as a layman, how maybe organized crime, organized syndicates, that sort of, those sort of, not white collar, but organized, where it's properly planned. It makes sense to me how they would have access to guns. They'll probably have resources to do so. But in this case, you've got someone who I presume acted alone. So could you tell us how, in this case, someone like this, the suspect in the Setia City Mall shooting, how he would have gained access? Like, how would they normally get a gun in the first place?
Okay, I don't want to teach anyone on how to get a gun. Actually, you can Google that.
Important to put that disclaimer out there, please. Yes.
You can Google actually to find. Firstly, we will know who are the people who have guns in Malaysia. Firstly, enforcers. Enforcers have guns. Right. There are places that store guns. Okay, so these are the people who have guns and other people who have this license. Usually, like multi-rich people would have guns. Usually, they would have license and they don't use the gun, but they just have it. And then secondly, you can get guns if you know certain people who are involved in crime, syndicates. You know that those who pushes drugs, they may not have guns themselves, but their bosses, they may know how to get guns. Right. People who operates brothels, these are syndicates. They will have guns. Even loggers, those who does illegal logging, those who is in the jungle and all, they would have guns. If you go to villages, they have guns. Hunting, people who hunt, they have guns. So although you cannot keep guns, it's an offence, but you know how to reach and find people who have guns, who can recommend you to how to get guns. So basically, it's not difficult to find how to purchase a gun.
But it would cost you, right? And I guess in this case, this person would have had the means to buy the gun. I don't think they're giving out guns for free, even if you're getting it from the mafia, right?
Yeah. I don't think guns are so expensive, actually.
Oh, is it not? Okay.
Yeah, I've never bought a gun before.
Okay.
But
Neither have I.
Yeah.
Important to put it out there.
Yeah, well, let's put it out there. But I've not heard of guns being expensive. Of course, you have the types of guns, but then the thing is that even a shotgun, a simple gun, can kill you. So you don't need to have a sophisticated, how many caliber kind of gun, you know. And then you buy the bullets and all that. So even having bullets is an offense. I've not heard of guns being, unaffordable before. That has never been an issue.
Right.
So that's why what I'm saying is that even if we have people who have guns, we have laws that prohibit use of firearms. We must also educate people why we are not allowed to use firearms. We are not really educating people. We are just telling people this is the law. You cannot do this. You cannot do that. I think even the same goes for drugs and many other things. Why can't you buy smuggled goods? Why can't you buy stolen goods? Actually, if you ask people don't know. People prefer to buy all these goods because it's cheaper. And then after that, and usually not many gets caught, unless it's linked to a case. So we cannot just be putting laws out there without explaining the wisdom behind the law, the consequences of that. So I think that is the thing that's lacking, and we need to educate people.
More outreach programs, do you think, by the
Correct.
government?
Yes. We cannot just have this old-fashioned crime thing. And now with AI, everything is possible.
Yep.
So many things is possible. I would not want to give any ideas here, but now we have a man coming with a gun, a real living being.
Yep.
We have come to a stage. What if it is a robot who does that? Who are you going to then blame?
Yeah.
Right?
Us against the machines, then it would be. Yeah.
Machines is not a living being.
That's right.
But I think I've written about this in the papers. I say if we're going to blame the machine, then we have to accord the defenses to the machine.
That's right. Yeah.
Then is it fair to even blame it on the creator of the machine? So there's a lot of things that we have to think of.
Okay.
So at the end of the day, yes, we will try to keep our spaces as safe as possible. Go back to that. Actually, even the traditional thing is always there. Enough lighting, enough spaces, patrolling, looking. If you look and see somebody a bit suspicious, I think one thing, this is the thing that we're lacking about our society. We do not like to report people who seem suspicious. It's always tak nak jaga tepi kain orang lah, bising buat malu orang lah. I don't agree to this. It is your responsibility. You don't do it, but then there may be a crime happening, or you may stop a crime. So it is, to me, it is a responsibility of a person to report if you see something amiss or you feel there's something not right.
Right. And doctor, on that, what you're saying is profiling, right? We should be more trained to be able to recognize and profile certain characteristics.
Yeah, to me, yes, that's it. I mean, I'm not saying that people might say that sometimes profiling can amount to discrimination, wrongful prosecution. It's not really that, but it's more on the grounds of safety and security. Maybe we can highlight what amounts to suspicious characters.
Right.
Nothing to do with color, nothing to do with, beliefs, religion or anything, but just the way the person is acting. Sometimes a person may act, they're fidgeting, maybe that's just, they have ADHD maybe. We don't know, right? But there are certain acts that may be deemed suspicious from the naked eye. So I think we do not educate people enough. We say, if you see a suspicious character, but what amounts to a suspicious character? People don't know.
Right. So perhaps, Doctor, maybe we can start somewhere, at least, from looking at this case. Now, based on what you can tell, because the police can't really say much at the moment. They're still on the manhunt for this suspect, right? But what can you tell us in terms of the tendencies, or how we can catch someone with these sort of tendencies before they act out? And is there a certain pattern to look out for?
Yeah, I think it goes back to the family, to the partners, to the people. This person is accustomed and acquainted to. Even like us, we live in we have our own small unit of family, right? People around us. If we see something not right with the people that we mix with, I think perhaps we can, raise an alarm, talk to that person. That's why I think it is more of looking out for one another. We don't look out for people that is not within our circle, but we can look out for people that is within our circle, our own family unit. That is one way to keep people safe. I think because we are so caught up with all this, technology, modernization, our quest of finding, making ends meet, we don't really bother about, other people's well-being, especially within our circle. We expect everything to be fine, but mental, especially like for example the mental and stress is on the rise. Mental well-being, there's so much of problems there. People's mental health is deteriorating, and you have a lot of that among adolescents, youngsters. I've not heard that so much when I was growing up, but now it's a lot.
Yeah.
Because of the way the world is evolving. So I think if you ask me, can we stop a crime from occurring? 100% we cannot. But we can do whatever we can to try and minimize the harm, lessen or make it harder for a crime to be committed. That we can do.
And earlier you mentioned how we have to also be discerning about how AI or the more advanced, sophisticated technology could make this even worse. But to make it work to our favor, do you think that AI can actually help screen these sorts of behavior, where they can raise a red flag? Okay, flag this person, someone who's probably likely to do something like this. And could this actually be even more cost effective in the long run?
Yeah, this topic has been debated extensively on the use of AI in security. I mean, they've been selling it and marketing it.
Right.
There's a lot of benefits, but remember, there's always an inherent bias. That's the cons of it, because at the end of the day, the person who programs the AI is a human being with their own reservations, their own feelings, their own subjudice or prejudice.
Right.
So they have all this. So it's great to have AI. AI can actually save a lot of time, a lot of work, and we can put in that key indicators. But the cons is that, number one, and unemployment would, you won't need more people patrolling.
Right.
You use a robot. But whatever it is, a robot can never replace human being, because we have that empathy, compassion, we have this instinct, gut feelings. That one a robot don't have.
Right.
So, but nevertheless, robots can be used to sense metal. Guns, maybe you can program that.
And gunpowder, perhaps?
Yeah, perhaps. I mean, at the moment we're using dogs, right?
Right.
Canine.
Right.
You train them, but robots, I'm sure you have a way to train and trace,
Right.
that somebody is bringing some bullets or gun or something that's deadly, a deadly weapon. I'm sure that can be done. Profiling in that sense, yes, maybe, and maybe a sign to say that if you are being stopped, please do not be offended. It is just to clarify,
Yeah.
something, just this kind of announcements, and so that people won't feel so offended if at
Right.
all they're being stopped. Yeah.
Because I'm somehow reminded of, I don't know if you watched it, a movie back in the early 2000 or the 2010s, Eagle Eye,
Yeah.
where they used AI
Yeah.
supposedly to make people safer, feel safer,
Yeah.
but it actually backfired.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's why there's always the cons in that. Yeah. So we cannot do everything. AI cannot do everything. And I think we should stop thinking also that AI is supposed to replace human being.
That's right.
They can do half of what we can,
Right.
but the other half is still human beings who has to function.
It should just complement.
Yes,
you mean
correct.
to say, right?
Complement, that's the
Okay.
word. Yeah.
Now, unfortunately, Doc, we are kind of running out of time before we have to get into the second segment. So I'm going to end it on this last question. So after this mall shooting, the Selangor police, rightly so, they came out saying that they're going to increase security at shopping malls and places of interest across the state. And I think this is going to follow through nationwide as well, because the order came from the very top, from the Inspector General Police. So Selangor Police Chief Dr Hussein Omar Khan said that he believes security guards and auxiliary police should undergo regular in-house training on how to handle such situations, perhaps echoing, or rather our Malls Association president echoes what the police is saying here. So in your opinion, how soon should this start, and do we have the resources to do so?
I think if that's the case, it should be implemented soon as possible then. I mean, training, I'm definitely for it, because I think that especially our auxiliary police or police corps, we call it, I'm not too sure of the training that they have to undergo, but they definitely need to undergo this kind of training. Like, if there is something happening in shopping mall, how do you respond? And also, how do you make sure you are safe and other patrons are safe?
Right.
I don't think they are trained in that sense. They're just going around patrolling. And not only them only, I think also the other security guards that the shopping mall engages, I think do not put them at risk also.
Right.
Because if they are safe, then the patrons are safe. We're going to go, we're going into Ramadan. There's going to be a lot of shopping. And then, Raya month, Shawwal. So you're going to see a large crowd, a large number of people. So if that can be implemented straight away, that would be great. That will make shoppers feel safer. So at least a small thing, at least to increase people patrolling. That's the first thing at least you can do. In terms of cost, of course, that's going to come with the cost.
Yeah.
So I think also the shopping malls, you have to not only think about operating business and profits. You have to think about investing in security measures as well.
Yep.
I think that is one thing sometimes they do not really look into. So that investment in security measures is right now, I think, is quite crucial.
Investing for the future.
Exactly.
Right. Well, I don't think it could have ended the discussion any better there. Thank you so much, Doc, for your wonderful informative insights on the matter. Again, this is absolutely a serious issue here, and I think one that needs to be addressed as much as possible, because we can't keep having this happening, right?
Yes.
So
Most
again,
welcome,
thank you so much, Doc, for
Most
making time
welcome,
for us
Hazween.
here. We'll be right back with our second segment on the higher EPF dividends with Amalina's report and interview. So don't go anywhere. Stay tuned.
Thank you so much, Dr. Rami, for joining us on this particular episode of Beyond the Headlines. Now, first, right off the bat, I just want to understand, because Malaysia's inflation rate averaged at 1.8% in 2024, and analysts have projected that the EPF dividend that will be announced in March, hopefully, will be at a rate of between 5.8% to 6.2%. Now, was this simply the result of favorable market conditions such as, equities, bonds, or overseas investment?
Okay, thanks for inviting me. I think it's due to the overall feel-good factor. I think the results of the GDP has shown, so we can see that the GDP soon to be announced by Bank Negara is expected for the whole 2024, around 5.1, even 5.2%. So early numbers from DOSM is 5.1%. And we can see the growth, especially in the first and second quarter, were very sterling. Yeah, so that's number one. Secondly, as you said, is the Bursa Malaysia. The Bursa Malaysia performance has been very good. Yeah, if you remember 2023, the index was basically 1,500, even touched 1,400. Yeah, but now throughout 2024, it has basically exceeded 1,600 points and even reaching 1,650 points, not mistaken. However, only just that January and even December last year, there's a bit of slowdown due to the reasons related to factors of geopolitics and the political changes in the United States. Thirdly, was due to the strengthening of the ringgit. If you look at 2024, ringgit basically swing. From actually at the end of 2023, from 4 ringgit, almost 4 ringgit 70 cents to even 4 ringgit and 21 cents. So of course now we are basically averaging about 4.46 to 4.5. But that is towards the year end. So all this pointed out to feel good factor. And number 4 is other fund managers, beside EPF, like Tabung Haji, PNB, also announced a very good results for 2024, which is, I would say, higher than 2023. So people believe EPF with the bigger funds, about more than 1.2 trillion, will generate a better performance among the big three, among the big three. And then on top of course, I have to mention about Khazanah. Recently Khazanah, generated one of the best performing fund managers in the world, sovereign fund managers in the world. So all this actually pointed out, and then of course, as you mentioned about inflation rate is basically under control, by 1.8%, even though Bank Negara was expecting higher. Nonetheless, Amalina, I'm looking at 2025 to be more challenging, with Bank Negara looking at when the government introduced the targeted subsidy for RON 95 to be between 2 to 3.5, 2 to 3.5%.
We also have to factor in other things, currency fluctuations, the overexposure to volatile markets. So how can EPF replicate the good performance that they've had thus far throughout the year moving forward? What can contributors do as well?
I think 2025, we will have a more volatile global market. Whatever happened in the United States, whereby when President Trump come up with very weird policies, I would say, with all the tariff and inflation rates, so EPF need to basically to balance, their domestic as well as their foreign investment portfolio. They must be smart enough to smell sudden changes in the market. What we have is basically we need more support in the domestic equity market. We have seen foreign investors coming into Malaysia, buying our MGS, government MGS, also investing in the stock market. However, at the end of the year, they start leaving, and then this has an impact on the market, even though overall our economy, our companies are doing very well. So we can't see any bank losing money. In fact, a lot of banks are reporting better and improved performance than previous years. So were all the other GLCs. So EPF need to be more involved in the helping out the domestic economy. If you remember, in 2023, the third quarter and the fourth quarter, when the export market, there's a lesser demand because people were basically worried what will happen in the global market. Then the domestic market is actually were the one who pushing. And yeah, even though we have only 3.8% GDP for 2023, but that is good enough, better than we anticipated.
What would, another round of withdrawals affect or disrupt EPF's long-term investment strategy?
EPF has reacted to this when they introduced the account tree. Yeah, something that we've never been done before. And then, and this has been received well by the public, where they can use some part of their savings. People understand, that if possible they want to withdraw more, but they really need to think about the future, the retirement age and so on. We can understand when these withdrawal were related to the pandemic, 2021, 2020, and even 2023. But 2024, the economy has been growing. 2025, we anticipate, slower than 2024, but more stabilized economic growth. Yeah, due to the not domestic, more due to the external factors. Okay, I don't think there will be another withdrawal, up in the EPF sleeves this year. What people want is the more higher return. So you cannot ask EPF to withdraw money at the same time you want a higher dividend. That's not fair. Yeah, let EPF do a good job, generate a lot of money so that we can have a good retirement.
So I understand the account tree was the solution by EPF, and that is considered that they are, looking into what the public wants. But sometimes the public demands can be very unpredictable, right? Even having the existence of account tree seems to be very counterproductive of what a savings entity should be or should uphold. There are some pockets of society that feel that way, but majority does not. They don't. It boils down back to financial literacy, right? So, what strategy should members at least consider? Let's say once they do get a high return, the higher dividend, in terms of optimizing their savings into other places.
We have to be fair to EPF. Actually, in terms of size of fund, in terms of asset under management or AUM. EPF has the biggest in the country. It's more than TNB, it's more than Tabung Haji, it's more than Kuak and other funds, even Khazanah. Okay, they have done a good job in balancing the needs of the society, and they have responded. Okay, allowing people to withdraw the monies, even the pressure from the politician, different government, but they managed to do it. They managed to do it. And we should be looking at EPF in a bigger scale, in a bigger scale, as such that we need to look at things more in the macro level. Okay, we are having a very challenging, because people need to understand. Sometimes they refuse to understand. The food security is an issue. Okay, we are importing about more than 70 billion ringgit of food every year. Even like beef, 80% are imported from India. Okay, so what will happen? Will we eat beef after this? And other thing, a lot of things.
Will become vegan.
When you become veggie, right? In fact, there's a statistics on this in terms of usage of land. Okay, only 1/6 of the land is being used for food production, whereas the balance is more on the commercial planting, like palm oil, rubber, paddy, and etc. You're not producing like different strategy adopted by Thailand compared to us. Thailand more on the food production. Now there are surplus of food, and they're exporting to other countries. Okay, so this strategy need to be relooked again. Okay, so the other issue is by year of 2035 and even 2050, Malaysia will become aging nation. Okay, when like 20% of the population age more than 60 or 65 years old. Now we have like our average age of Malaysian at 75. Okay, maybe
we are already an aging nation in a way.
75. Yeah, you're true. But will the government relook at the retirement age, not 60? Is it going to increase to 65? Or some countries even looking at 69, so that the people work until they die. Maybe, because if they do work, they are unable to to generate income.
On an individual level, so what should contributors consider? Because a lot of these that has been laid out, it seems to be like government policies and intervention, right?
I think Malaysian lot is basically living a very comfortable life for the last 10 years. Okay, we are basically, I think if you look at many surveys, Malaysia Happiness Index ranked among at least Asia high. Okay, so Asia high. So we are very comfortable. We are confident with the way things are. But time has changed. Yeah, time has changed, and especially after the pandemic in 2021. Yeah, cost of living has skyrocketed. Last time we were talking about ringgit, we were talking about around 3 ringgit. Now we're talking about 4.5. We're talking about even 5 ringgit. And the price of goods has skyrocketed. So all this, this time has changed. We are too comfortable. We have to learn to be the other tiger economies like South Korea, like Taiwan, how they strive. They don't have that many natural resources. Oh, never mind, we have Petronas. We rely on our oil and gas, etc., etc. But look at countries like with lack of natural resources, Singapore, Hong Kong, Taiwan, how they move. And we need to be, I would say, in this desperate situation. When human basically in the desperate situation, then their talent will come up. Then they will become more competitive.
Say EPF does announce its dividend at 6.2%. That's a high number, high percentage, and it really outpaces the inflation rate of 1.8% here. Do you think it impacts sustainability moving forward?
We compare that anticipated around 6%, which I think is very high. But anyway, it's still better than previous years. We have to look at the inflation rate. We have to look at the fixed deposit rate of the banks. It's still better. The important thing here is that instead of sustainability, we have like not a drastic yo-yo kind of thing. Not yo-yo kind of return, but we should have a gradual increase, safe, because at the same time, the pot of EPF is growing. Now it's 1.2 trillion. 10 years ago, it was 1 trillion. So in a 10 years period, it has grown by 200 over million, including the money that was withdrawn during the COVID-19, the pandemic. Yes, in fact, it should be more, maybe 1.3 or 1.4 trillion ringgit by now. So take that into consideration.
One last question, particularly on Sharia fund performance. Now, historically, Sharia fund has delivered slightly lower dividends compared to conventional fund. But this year, or at least this particular coming announcement, analysts have projected that it might close the gap a little bit or even outperform its past records. Do you think it's a temporary anomaly, or are we seeing some gradual progress here?
Okay, Sharia Fund is very interesting. It's been just introduced, I think, 2 or 3 years back. Okay, there are two things about the Sharia Fund. It should be generating a higher fund, simply because one side of the coin, because its base is smaller, the amount is smaller. Okay, in terms of fund wise, in terms of investment, of course, it's not as wide as the normal conventional fund can invest. Okay, because due to limitation of Sharia. But I look at the capital market of Malaysia, 70% now, or even some say 80% is basically Islamic capital market, like Sukuk, compared to the conventional bonds and others. So the return is quite good for Islamic Sharia fund. Okay, the other side of things is that not many Muslims in Malaysia actually, convert their account to Sharia. That is the issue. Okay, they talk about halal, haram, blah, blah, blah. When it comes to the Sharia fund, I would say the statistics shows that only 20 to 30% switch
Is
to
it
Sharia.
because of but is it because of there's no appeal to it because of the lower dividends that's going to come?
Maybe because of that, and maybe they say, oh, never mind, if you issue to us, after that you buy zakat, things like that, how you can qualify our fund, But I teach Islamic finance. You look at the barakah actually. If it is still short, you can claim it when you die, right? So that is the barakah that you look at. So it's not about sometimes maybe you get money faster, but you can basically lose it faster as well. That's what we say. So If more Malaysian who are Muslims convert to the Sharia BTH fund, then EPF will have a bigger pool which they can invest. Maybe they can get a better return. Of course, again, it goes back to the court of EPF to generate a higher income for Sharia. At the moment, the way EPF look at it is still a voluntary kind of thing. They don't want to force, and after all, this is EPF, this is not tabung haji, this is not ASB, this is not versus ASN, so it's all about us, the investors, conscious whether to go into Sharia, which is better, permissible in Sharia as compared to the normal conventional, which involve in all kinds of interest, riba, and especially investment in company that involve in liquor, cigarette, and all those things, which is haram or not permissible in Islam.
Is there anything else you'd like to highlight?
2025, yes, since we spoke a lot about 2024, 2025, bear in mind, it's a more challenging year. It's a challenging year, and then whatever we have in 2024, I think we should appreciate. We should be grateful, because we never know what will happen in 2025. And what will happen in the West, what will happen in the States, as I spoken earlier, Federal Reserve may not cut the interest rate at all this year. In fact, they may increase the interest rate. The numbers in January also already show that the interest rate, the inflation rate in the United States already reached 3%, which was way above their target. They are targeting about 2 or 2.5%. So does that mean the US will maintain the interest rate, or they may even increase the interest rate? If that happens, then ringgit may even be weakened against US dollar, just like other currencies. And then we're going to have a tougher time, just like we had in 2023 or 2022.
And there you have it from my co-host Amalina Kamal, with good news all around on the EPF dividends front. Well, unfortunately, that's all the time we have for this week's show. I'd like to, of course, once again, thank my in-studio guest here with me, Dr Haezreena Begum, for making time for us on Beyond the Headlines today.
Most welcome, Hazween.
And feel free to come back anytime, please.
Oh, sure.
Hopefully not about, gun violence or,
Yeah.
public shootings or anything like that.
Sure.
So, but definitely enjoyed my discussion with you today. And of course, to all our viewers out there watching this, if you enjoyed this episode, please do hit that like button and subscribe to our YouTube channel, the channel you're watching this episode on right now, NST Online. Don't forget to also follow us on all the socials. We're on Facebook, Instagram, X, and TikTok for all the latest updates and news, not just on the show, but pretty much everything on NST. That's all for now, unfortunately. Thank you so much for watching, and until the next one, it's goodbye.